Liverpool are resigned to losing Brazil forward Philippe Coutinho this summer and wait to bring in 25-year-old Real Madrid and Spain midfielder Isco. Like for like change then. Obviously, they're not exactly the same player. There will be slight differences between them, but it does seem like they're going like for like in terms of changing. But the question marks then will be around whether Isco actually moves, because there's been a lot of talk around whether he will actually leave the Bernabeu, whether he'll stay at Madrid or who he'll go to if he does leave. Will he want to stay in Spain? Will he want to broaden his horizons and go abroad? Liverpool have had a good history with Spanish players recently, especially. So I think it'll be as good a place as any for him to go to. And I don't think there's any doubt if Coutinho leaves and Isco comes in that he will not get first team football because he's of that quality. Crystal Palace winger Wilfred Zaha is close to a move to Tottenham, but his decision to represent Ivory Coast rather than England could stop the switch. Why? Are Tottenham only signing English players now? It's bold for a club at the very top of the Premier League to say that. I don't quite understand why his switch of allegiance from England to the Ivory Coast would hamper a move for him. He's surely an English national, seeing as he has the opportunity to play for this country. He wouldn't be giving that up with, accepting to play for the Ivory Coast. He would still hold a British passport, surely. So I don't quite understand the reasoning behind why that may scupper the move. Manchester United are favourites to sign Leicester City and Denmark goalkeeper Kasper Schmeichel, but face competition from Manchester City. I think if one goalkeeper leaves this summer, it could start a domino effect where a lot of the top teams are trying to sign a new number one goalkeeper. I think City need a new keeper anyway. If De Gea leaves, United will need a new top goalkeeper. The only club, therefore, that I think already have their goalkeeping situation sorted if their top goalkeeper leaves is Leicester, because they've got Zila in, who's a very decent goalkeeper. But much like a few years ago when we first saw Brad Friedel leave Blackburn for Tottenham, it was a case of Blackburn then signed Paul Robinson, and it was like a domino effect where one team bought a new goalkeeper, then the next team bought a new goalkeeper, then the next team bought a new goalkeeper. I think it could happen again. United expect to lose injured defender Luke Shaw for the rest of the season, with the 21-year-old left-back set to miss the England World Cup qualifier against Scotland. He's been blighted with injuries so much, Luke Shaw. And whenever he does play, he looks like he's got that quality that you need to be a top-class player. And it's such a shame that every time he seems to start picking up momentum, picking up steam, going on a bit of a run, he then gets another big injury. Whether that's a testament to how he plays or the quality that he has, that people feel they have to continue chopping him down, or whether it's just because he is an injury-prone defender, is yet to be seen. But the one thing that he does have going in his favour is that he's still very young, and so has a lot of time in his career to fix this notion that he's very injury-prone. Inter Milan want Chelsea manager Antonio Conte to replace the current boss Stefano Pioli, with the Serie A side ready to demote Pioli to managing their sister club Chinese Super League side Jinsu Suning. If they want a new manager and they want a big name, there isn't much bigger names in the sport right now than Antonio Conte. Personally, I think the best thing Milan can do is wait another couple of seasons and try and pick up Jose Mourinho again, because he had good times at Inter Milan the last time he was there, winning the Champions League and the Scudetto for them. So if they want a new manager, Conte is clearly the most high-profile Italian manager out there at the moment. In regards to demoting their other manager by sending him off to manage a different club, it depends how he sees it. If he wants a break from European football, from the pressures of that, send him off to China. He might find it easier. He might thrive. He might come back bigger and better and stronger than ever before. But at the same time, it may not be something he's interested in, and so leave the club entirely, and you could burn that bridge, which in business is never really a good thing. The Premier League leaders are favourites to sign 22-year-old Monaco and France midfielder Timone Bakayoko. We've seen this little bit of gossip before several times there's no smoke without fire. It looks like it is going to happen, and Chelsea is the only name that's been batted around for any extended period of time talking about this player. Other clubs like Manchester United or Manchester City or Arsenal or whoever, they seem to jump in and then disappear for a couple of months from these rumours. But Chelsea are the ones that seem to stick around for a long time. Chelsea are also close to signing Southampton's 25-year-old Netherlands defender Virgil van Dijk for £50 million after he turned down an offer from Arsenal. Again, he's developed into such a good, strong, tough tackling centre-back that reads the game so well. He is getting close to being the complete modern-day defender centre-back. And there's going to be a whole host of top clubs wanting his signature. And it certainly looks like Chelsea are going to be one of those clubs in the running to try and sign him. Personally, I think he can do better work at other clubs. Other teams like Arsenal, even though it seems in this rumour he's not interested in Arsenal, who need centre-backs more. The likes of Manchester City or Manchester United certainly could use him better. But at the end of the day, it's for the player to decide where he wants to end up playing football next. Everton striker Romelu Lukaku has been talking to Chelsea's technical director Michael Emiliano before a potential move to Stamford Bridge. Emiliano was behind Belgium international Lukaku's move to Chelsea from Anderlecht in 2011. If Chelsea are going to lose Diego Costa, if Diego Costa is going to go off to China, then they're going to need a new first-team striker. And right now, Lukaku's numbers are outperforming, I think, everybody else in the Premier League, bar maybe Harry Kane or Sergio Aguero, for the likes of goals per minute, of like shots per game, chances per game kind of thing. So if he is, and he does want to make the step up to a Champions League team, and I think Everton, as good as they are, aren't close to that right now. They could take a couple more seasons to get there. And is Lukaku going to hang around until he's in his late 20s to finally get games in the Champions League? I don't think he should have to. So I can see him moving. I can see Chelsea being a good destination. He's been there before. The only thing that could hamper the deal is the fact that he's been there before and didn't have a good time at Chelsea before, just didn't get the opportunity to play. But at the same time, he could be happy that Chelsea let him go when they did, so he could continue to develop. So it's a double-edged sword, and it depends how Lukaku looks at the situation as to whether he would want to go back or not, maybe. Atletico Madrid's France forward Antoine Griezmann is attracted by the prospect of signing for Manchester United, but has reservations about leaving Spain. The Spanish League and the English League are so different in terms of the way they're played. It's far more physical in England. We keep hearing this all the time, but it's true. It's so much more physical in England rather than tactical football. And it's so make or break. We've seen it before with top players that have come here in the likes of Angel Di Maria, who just don't adapt and haven't been able to change their game to be able to suit the English style of play. So it's the easiest way, I think, to make or break your career. But the fact is that there's more glory here, there's more money here, there's more, there's more passionate fans here than any other league in Europe, potentially. So, are you willing to take that chance, I guess is the question. United will have to make Griezmann the Premier League's best paid player, about £300,000 a week, to tempt him to Old Trafford. That makes sense for somebody that's going to cost you upwards of £80 million. I'm assuming Paul Pogba's on a similar wage kind of deal to that as well. It's also a big temptation. You will be the highest paid player in X country. Oh, sure, I'll do that. That'll be a good distinction for me. West Brom want to sign Sporting Lisbon and Portugal midfielder William Carvalho, but face competition from Arsenal and Manchester City. If the fee batted around a couple of days ago at 25 million is correct, he's one of the few players in world football whose price isn't hugely inflated right now. So I can see why teams would be sniffing around him. In terms of Arsenal trying to sign him, it's been said since Vieira left, but is he going to be the final replacement for Vieira? In terms of Manchester City, is he going to be the replacement for Yaya Toure? Or is he just going to be a bit different to both of those players that I mentioned? Again, we'll have to wait and see, but if you had the choice between West Brom and Arsenal or Manchester City, I know which one I would be picking, with someone that doesn't have any strong allegiance to any of those clubs. Arsenal's Germany midfielder Mesut Ozil kicked a door in frustration following the Gunners' 2-0 defeat by Tottenham. Should have done more to try and change the game then. I watched the North London derby, didn't hear Ozil's name mentioned by the commentators too often. He didn't do much during the game. He seems like one of those players that, when everything's going well, will ride the wave, will go with the flow extremely well. But when the team's down, he's not willing to really put himself out to try and change the way things are going. You hear constantly about Arsenal not doing that well, about Alexis Sanchez putting his heart and soul into every single game to try and win it, even when the side is, on the down and outs, isn't playing particularly well. So, but you never really hear the same thing from Ozil. Whether that's because they're just different types of players, they have different mentalities, different hearts, levels of heart in the game, different work rates, whatever. But you rarely hear Ozil's names being batted about when the club really needs to dig out a result. He's one that always is there and pops up with an assist or a goal when they've got form with them, when they're going with the flow, when they're riding the wave, as you will. Ozil has yet to sign a new contract with Arsenal, but only Faberhans have shown interest in signing him, with the Gunners willing to listen to offers. If he wants to go to Turkey, then I guess it's a great move for him. Otherwise, it appears, according to this rumour, he's not going to get any better than Arsenal. Real Madrid boss Zinedine Zidane could leave the Bernabeu as he's yet to agree fresh terms on his contract, which expires in the summer. It's weird that Madrid seem to flip-flop so crazily between doing really well with Zinedine Zidane or wanting to get rid of him. But I just, at this point in my life, I'm just like, that's a constant thing at Madrid, is that they're always looking to get rid of you and bring a new manager in. That seems to be Madrid's speciality, if you will. Tottenham will offer right-back Kieran Trippier a new deal, and the club ward off interest from Everton. He's done well. Again, he played a bit during the North London derby. Seemed to play well. Deserved his place in the side ahead of Kyle Walker. Speaking of, Kyle Walker, who was replaced by Trippier for the North London derby, is lining up a move to Manchester City, and the 26-year-old right-back could double his £55,000 a week contract. Every time I look at the amount that Tottenham players get paid compared to the rest of the league, my eyes start watering for them. Because I read that before Eriksson signed his new deal at the start of the season, he was getting paid £30,000 a week. That's ridiculously low compared to some of these other players. We talked about Griezmann coming in at £300,000 a week earlier on in this very video. How Daniel Levy gets what he gets for the money he has to pay out is absolutely amazing. And you can see why he has that reputation as one of the toughest negotiators in football. West Ham boss Slaven Bilic will hold talks with striker Andy Carroll at the end of the season over his injury record. England international Carroll has completed just 12 games this season. Yeah, but they knew that when they were signing him from Liverpool. He's been injury blighted long before he got to West Ham, and nothing's changed since he's been at West Ham. So I don't quite understand why they're so annoyed. They knew what they were getting themselves into. Stoke City striker Saido Berahino will take just 1 week's holiday this summer in an attempt to get in shape for the new season. Berahino has yet to score since his £12 million move from West Brom in January. It's difficult for players that move in January to get into the flow in the current season. It seems to happen over and over again that a player moves in January and doesn't quite get into the full flow of things until the next full season. Is this a case of that, or is it a case of him genuinely being out of shape? But I do think now he's under a manager who will put his arm around him and tell him to keep working, to keep trying to get into shape until he actually does it. So fingers crossed that eventually he will get back into shape and will get back playing regularly and scoring regularly, because once upon a time he was England's brightest star of the future. Massimiliano Cellino's 3-year reign at Leeds is set to end, but manager Gary Monk's future remains a doubt at the Championship club. They've not performed as well as they wanted to this year in the Championship. They haven't got into the playoffs, and they said at the start of the season, I believe, that they would be refunding people's season ticket money. Not the full refund, but a partial refund if they didn't make it to the playoffs. And they have come out recently and said they're going to stand by that. So they're obviously not where they want to be right now. Do think Gary Monk's a good manager though, and they should keep him and continue with that project if they want to move forward eventually. Everton's Republic of Ireland winger Aiden McGeady wants to return to Preston North End next season after his successful loan spell at the Championship club. Again, if you're happy somewhere, try and stay there. You know, Preston, try and sign him on a permanent deal. It might cost you a couple of £1 million, but I think he's clearly going to be your best player. And now that you're staying in the Championship, try and push on, try and go up the table. And players like Aiden McGeady will only help you, clearly. And finally, former Everton and Arsenal forward Francis Jeffers is set to step into the boxing ring for a Merseyside derby charity fight against ex-Liverpool winger David Thompson. 2 ex-footballers turning into old-timey boxers. If they're both training and they both have the basic grasp, I don't see why it wouldn't be a poor thing. You know, it's obviously going to be a well-promoted match and all the proceeds are going to charity, so good luck to the two of them. Anyway, I've got to the bottom of the page again. That's all I got time for, therefore. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.